Hello and welcome to the You Think It, We Say It show, brought to you by the Houston African American Bloggers Association, and we are sponsored by Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. I'm excited to be here with you guys today. My name is Tiffany Taylor Hicks, and you guys can get at me on Instagram at Velvet Rope Experience. And we have an exciting show today. Our first segment is It Takes a Village. And we are here today with the beautiful Charlotte and Janae. I'm excited for you guys to be here with me on the first segment. So we are going to be talking about gun violence in schools. So I was wondering, what do you guys think about giving teachers guns? Like, let's just jump right into it. How you feel about that? What you think?
Okay, so I feel whatever environment you work in, you do have a right to protect yourself.
Okay.
And I think that over the past 30 years, there's been a breakdown in the way teachers are able to educate their students and being able to have that autonomy as the teacher. Mm-hmm. And it's only so many times, teachers can tell parents, okay, little Johnny has some issues.
Okay. I guess my biggest concern about teachers having guns, because I'm not against the teachers. I'm not against anybody having a right to have a handgun, right? My concern is, where's the liability for the teachers at that point? Mm-hmm. So if you're in the classroom and you have a gun, first of all, how do we protect the children from the gun that you have? First, that's the first thing. And then the second thing that concerns me is, like, how do we track the teachers and know whether or not they are responsible gun owners, right? So, like, and how do they even know how to respond at in a time like when needed? And I'll give you guys an example. Did you guys hear? So at the recent shooting in Florida, of course, we want to put a shout out and prayers for everybody that was involved in the recent shooting in Florida. But you guys noticed that the security guard didn't even react.
He did not.
And so in my mind is like, okay, so did he freeze up? Did he not want to engage? And then you have to ask yourself, what if teachers experience the same thing?
So my thing is, we're already struggling with trained law enforcement officers shooting the correct person.
Correct.
I don't want my 4-year-old in a classroom with a teacher who's not a person who is specifically trained to protect people with a firearm. Because, yeah, you made a good point. Like, my son, I've been in his class. The kids bum rush the teacher all the time. Right. There's no telling where they at, what they doing. I mean, obviously they're supervised, but they're children. They are inquisitive. They all over the place. And don't let them happen to see it. Now it's, oh, what's that? Well, what are you doing with that? Oh, you have a gun. I don't want my child to come home and be like, oh, well, Miss Such and Such, she has a gun. Mm-hmm. Because I don't even let him play with the guns right now. And then you think about, like, a couple of Christmases ago, there was the mom who, her child found her handgun in her purse, and I think he either shot himself or he shot her. Like, I don't think that the teacher should be responsible, have that much responsibility to not only protect my child and themselves, but also to be able to keep them safe when, schools are overpopulated, teachers are understaffed.
Right.
Like, if you got 20 kids in your classroom, how are you watching every single one of them, let alone watching every single one of them, make sure they're where they need to be, doing what they need to do, not in stuff they're not supposed to be in, and let alone with a loaded gun in the room? I mean, right. I don't think that it should be the teacher's responsibility to protect and serve.
I mean, I'm thinking if you go to school to become a teacher, tactical shooting is not on your curriculum. Right? So it might be. I'm just saying, depending on what it is that you're talking about. But I guess the concern for me at this point, literally, like, one of my girlfriends, we were having a discussion about what is it that we could do to prepare our kids, because we live in an age where school shootings are increasing, right? So one of the things that she was mentioning was preparing our kids to to make sure that they're prepared for if it happens, because it's a potential, right? So one of the suggestions that she made was, like, having your kids go to a CPR class, right? Teaching your children how to apply a tourniquet, teaching them how to, I think it was another thing that she had, teaching them how to stop bleeding. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that's not what you send your kids to school for, but you
it's
also
really
have
not.
to.
Exactly.
But part of the reason that the shooting wasn't as deadly as it could have been, the JROTC students were there.
Okay.
And they actually shepherded people into their classroom. They had Kevlar mats, and they held them up and was like, okay, come in. And they were shielding people with the Kevlar mats.
Okay.
That was the only reason. And it's really sad that you had students stepping up, but the deputy is outside waiting.
Right.
Chilling.
Right. That is, for me, it's like, it's scary because I'm thinking about when I remember how I felt when I heard about Columbine, right? And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, because when I was younger, the worst thing that you had to worry about was maybe somebody bringing a knife to school or vodka, right? We were more worried about drinking in school than we were shooting some stuff up. You know what I'm saying? That's what we were worried about. And it just concerns me now because I don't have any kids in school, but I'm just thinking to myself that if I had to send my kids to school, now I'm more worried about, I'm not just worried about the school getting shot up, I'm worried about the teacher. What's the situation looking like in the classroom with the teacher? Because think about how many times have we seen in the news teachers beating up kids, right? And so now you mad also, and you got a handgun? Exactly. I'm concerned.
And also, well, how many times have you seen, the student flip a teacher?
Oh, yeah.
So the teacher, it's possible the teacher can they have the gun, but then if the child overpowers them, because some of these kids are
bad.
Huge, not even that.
They bad.
I am 5'1". If I go into a high school right now, the vast majority of those children are likely to be taller than me.
Yes, and they look like grown men. They look 30 years old.
Exactly. So it's just, I just don't feel like it should be the teacher's responsibility. I don't think that, I just don't, even though it sucks because that's the case now that you have to think about your children being protected. You have to think about what are the alternatives to this situation.
Well, I think one of the things we also have to take into consideration, like with the recent Florida shooting, there were over 30 warnings about him.
Right.
How many times do I have to tell you? The FBI was twice within 3 months. Called twice about him. The family took him to the police station. This person is dangerous.
I guarantee you, if he had a little bit more of a tan,
they would have taken it seriously.
He would have been picked up first time with the first situation. And that's the thing, because I work in mental health, and so we get calls daily about children who are exhibiting behavior unbecoming that doesn't even include them threatening people, like flipping desks, doing things, and the school is like, no, they can't come back until they get evaluated. They don't have to call the police out. The school police are escorting kids to get mental health evaluations.
Right.
And it's like, where was the disconnect that all of this information was reported and nobody took it serious enough to at least say, hey, if we're saying that mental illness is a underlying factor of this specific situation, because it's not always the case.
It's not always
then
the case,
if we're saying that was a concern, where was the what's the word? Where was the follow through? Like, where was the
follow up? Yeah,
right. Where was the okay? Well, let's at least check this part out, because that's a serious concern. If you're seeing things saying, "Hey, I'm going to harm people," like that.
You should take it serious at all times. So one of our viewers had brought up a really good point. Kelly, thank you. Kelly says, what about the mental health of the teacher? So when we're talking about teachers having handguns, right? Do we really know teachers are depressed, right? We don't know what's going on in the teacher's home life. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes I have seen being a teacher turn someone who was enthusiastic about teaching children or being in the education field, but with the way that the kids come to class, the way they act, the way they behave, the problems that the children have nowadays, it has literally turned some teachers to the point where they kind of just report to work. They're really just trying to get through the day. Yeah. So what do you guys think? What do you think could be some things that we could put in place to help schools right now with this situation as it relates to gun violence? And then what can teachers do?
I don't think it's not necessarily what the teachers can do. Mm-hmm. Some of it is, what are the parents doing? Because there have been recent cases reported where parents are turning their kids in. A grandmother found a journal, and the girl had written everything down. She turned it right on in, and they actually arrested that girl.
Okay.
But what got me was she was white, and they arrested her, and I'm like, but y'all couldn't. Okay.
And the thing is, I think a lot of parents, because they want their children to get help, but they also don't want them to end up in the penal system. I've witnessed a lot of stigma among people of color, where it's like, well, I want them to get help. And a lot of times, especially in the state of Texas, where it is very difficult to force a person to get mental health help against their will.
And they're pipelining the kids to prison anyway.
Yeah, and that's the concern, because with mental health, again, it's not always a mental health issue, but in situations where you're concerned about your child's behavior, things like that, like if you are, 130 pounds soaking wet mom, and your child is 6'2", 150, and they won't go to the evaluation or to the hospital, you're going to have to call the police to help you to transport them. And a lot of parents are like, well, because of all of the things going on, I don't want my child to get shot by the police. I don't want the police to come here and my child start acting out and the police shoot him. That's a real concern, and that's really understandable. And so it is for the parents, but I think it's really a community aspect because, yeah, you want the parents to do this, you want the school to do that, but the system itself is broken.
Right. So that's a really good point, and that kind of helps us with the title of this segment, right? It does take a village. We have to come together as a community, and we have to be more aware. We have to pay attention to what our kids are doing. We probably need to ask parents that are struggling with their kids, do you need help? Is there anything that I can help you with? And I think that the school system has to be more involved in a way that is helpful with solutions as opposed to writing those children off. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. We are going to take a break, and we are going to thank our sponsor and look at a commercial for Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, and then we'll be right back.
Are you a Black blogger, podcaster, or vlogger located in Houston? Do you need help amplifying your voice? Do you want to be an active partner with an association that was designed with you in mind? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, now is an excellent time to join the Houston African American Bloggers Association to enjoy the benefits of working with a thriving and expanding collective.
Grandma and Grandpa just bought a brand new Corvette, lipstick red and black leather seats. I want to be just like them when I retire, footloose and fancy free. One of the things they taught me was to have a great insurance and retirement plan. That's why I signed up with the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. Farmers, our family has trusted them with all our insurance and retirement needs, so we have no worries on the road of life or on the highway to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. The Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, a farmer's company. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137.
Thank you for watching Houston's most diverse opinion-based show, You Think It, We Say It, brought to you by the Houston African American Bloggers Association. On the show, we share information, opinions, and perspectives focusing on Houston and flowing outward to encompass living well globally. To find out more, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
Hurricane Harvey hit us hard. Me and my wife lost both cars, and our house has water damage. We worried about our future, but then we contacted our trusted Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, Farmers. Let them make sure you're covered properly in the event of a loss. Contact them today for a free, no-obligation review of your current policy. After contacting Paul Wilson, we knew things were going to work out just fine. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137. A farmer's company.
Welcome back. We are rolling into our next segment, which is Black Houston Living. And I am joined again by Charlotte as well as Andrea Brown. Hello. And we are going to be talking about HBCU Rising. I was so excited about the documentary. We went and shared with some friends and we watched the whole documentary, and I left that feeling so proud, but also learning some things about HBCUs that I didn't know, even though I attend one currently. So I asked you ladies to join me because I was like, so first of all, let's go ahead and give a whoop whoop because we all attend or have attended HBCUs, right? It is an experience that is unlike any other. And so I thought we could just, kick it and talk a little bit about what we got from the documentary. So let's just start it. For those of you that have not gone to see the documentary, please do. I don't want to give you a complete spoiler alert on that because it's really worth you seeing it. It was on PBS. You guys can actually go see it as well on YouTube. But basically, it was talking about the necessity of HBCUs and how we arrived at having schools that we could go to as an African American community. So talk to me a little bit about, first, tell me, what school are you representing today?
I represent Tennessee State University. Yay! And true story, the original name was Tennessee A&I Normal School.
Okay.
Because it was originally agriculture industrial, and the normal school were schools that focus on preparing teachers.
Teachers, okay. All right, good deal. And the school that you went to?
And I am an alumnus of Hampton University.
Oh, look at that.
Formerly,
She fancy, y'all. She fancy.
Formerly Hampton Institute. And the documentary did a good job of giving the history. As a matter of fact, highlighted Hampton Institute as one of the places where Black people were trained to be skilled workers,
right?
Skilled
Carpenters,
carpenters, and things like that. And I thought that was an interesting point in the documentary. I feel like it may have been a little one-sided because they talked about Booker T. Washington, who is one of our most illustrious alumnus from Hampton University, who also went on to found Tuskegee Institute. And I think the historians in the documentary may not have been a fan of his methodology. They may have been more on the side of W.E.B. Du Bois. But that's okay, too. I just think that there are two sides to every story, and I think that there may have been a little merit in some of the things that Booker T. Washington was trying to do. But I think one of the things that I love most about the documentary is that it took us from the beginning
until
all
today.
the way through till now.
Today. And I like the idea that they went over decades. Like there was a really good representation of from the point of why we were not being taught in slavery, and then all the way up in every decade. Right, there was a uprising, or there was something that was happening that was shaping how we were being educated.
Right.
So for those of you that are watching that are not aware, when she's talking about Booker T. Washington, basically what we're saying, they're saying that his methodology or his philosophy was to get us jobs, right? So to teach us in a way where we could leave school and we could immediately go and become earners, right? But a lot of people, especially that follow W.E.B. Du Bois, their thought process was that is not showing us in a light that is royal enough, right? It's not showing us as doctors, as lawyers, as leaders in the community. And he thought that we should have a hard line to that.
Exactly.
And I do think that Booker T. Washington was showing that, but I think he was trying to provide us with an immediate solution.
Correct.
Right? Kind of like don't ruffle the feathers.
He was pragmatic. He was like, you know what? Let's do what we can now and leave something for the next generation.
Right. Right. And the thing that I really liked was you could really tell the dynamic between the fact that Booker T. Washington was born a slave. Right. So his mentality was a lot different as it related to, yes, we have this freedom, but are Black people at that time really ready for you to push them forward in that kind of way?
Exactly.
We had to start somewhere, and he said we needed to start at the bottom. And it's a lot of, like when we were watching it, my friends were like, what they mean? You can't get no further than the bottom. We were slaves. But what he really was trying to say is that we have to start at the bottom of, let's say, the job placement, right, and be trusted enough to go and be able to do this work. And so the skill things that these were things that we were already doing. We were already
he took
carpenters.
The stance of so they already started out as slaves. Okay, let's start with what we have.
Right.
Get them prepared, get them out to work. And then, as they're raising their children, provide something better for them.
Exactly.
It was a space of developing a line for generational growth instead of maybe immediately jumping from being slaves into professional positions like some people might have expected. You know, there were some people who said, well, we don't have anyone training Black people to be doctors or lawyers or things like that, but there was a path to progression that I think the documentary showed really well.
Right. And here's the other thing that I found very interesting. So one of the comments was that at the time when slaves were free, we didn't even have Black people that could really teach us how to be a doctor at that point. Exactly. Right? Because we had people that only had 6th grade, because remember, it was illegal for people to teach us how to read or how to write. So we had teachers, but some of the teachers had limited education
and
themselves.
They could only teach what they knew.
Exactly.
And if that's what they knew
skills. They knew skilled labor positions.
Exactly.
And so that's how it worked out.
And you know what I found? One of the things I found, like, so this was the thing that was the most interesting for me. And I think I tweeted about this. I said that Booker T. Washington walked across the state of Virginia to get to Hampton. He didn't know where it was. He didn't know how long it was going to take him to get to it, but he knew that he was going to get there because he desired to learn so bad, because he understood that there was some kind of power to be had with learning, right?
Exactly.
But you got kids nowadays can't even get up and make the bus on time.
That's very true.
You got kids nowadays talking about, I don't like to read. I don't care if you don't like it.
It shifts the value. You know, there's a difference in values.
Right.
So in past times, or from what I can see, and I'm an educator now, so when I look at my students and I see them wanting everything handed to them, it's very interesting for me, because even me, as someone who's only been out of undergrad for 8 years, I can see the difference in my generation and theirs.
Right.
Just the level of desire to be educated, or the value that's placed on education, it's miles apart. And that's just from my age to their age. So imagining the differences in the ideas that people had to come up with to even just get to the point where they could say, I really want to be educated, and I'm willing to go as far as I can, or as far as I have to go to get this education. It's just a very wide gap from where we are now.
Is.
And I think the saddest thing is, along with that, we've lost that connection with our Black universities.
Yes,
very true.
We have.
And
that
true.
was pointed out in the documentary. And so that was actually the next thing I was going to say or ask you, ladies. So I've often thought that in our desire to be equitous or to have equality, right, we have lost the understanding that culturally we are different. And when I say that, I mean, if we go back to who we are, we have traditions, we have things that mean something to our culture, right? And that's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's okay to have that difference. But now you have so many kids that want to go to predominantly white, university or institutions. And so now our HBCUs are faltering.
And here's my struggle. I see all these protests on the predominantly white campuses, and the students talking about, well, I don't have a safe space. I don't feel safe here. Okay, but you got Hampton, Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, TSU.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have all these Black colleges where you could get that. You could get that interaction.
Yes.
You could get that camaraderie.
Yes.
You could be where people look like you.
And
but you up here at Yale. When Yale had the opportunity to set up Black schools, and they said no.
Yes, Harvard actually said very specifically that they did not want to have education for African Americans or Black people or Negroes in that time, right? Because they said that it was going to drop the morale of the white people.
I did hear that.
Yes,
drop the morality.
And I was
what we gonna do?
And for me, I kind of always feel like that's one of the things that my parents always said. People died for you to be able to go to school.
Right.
People died for you to be able to vote, so you should do it, right? And that's something I grew up with, and it's something that I instilled in my son, and he's in his 20s, right? But it's interesting that if you just go just a little bit lower than the 20s, like let's say someone who's like 19 years old, right? They could care less about voting. That's like, they're like, I ain't with that. I can't say that on air, but that's how they are. And I'm like, man, what is happening to the point where you don't realize how important this is? And then also I say to myself, there is no experience like going to a HBCU.
It's really not.
There is nothing better than going and seeing someone who looks like you, who wants to see you succeed, who is educated, and who is standing up in that, right? That is, like, for me, that is regal. It makes me almost want to cry, but that is, it means a lot to me, and I think that so many other kids should experience that.
Right, and I think that's where we as HBCU alumnus come in, and I think it's important for us to continue to walk and speak to the younger generations that are coming up and share with them these experiences that we did have at our alma maters, because they don't know. And it would be great for students to be able to say, yes, I can go to any school that I want to go to and feel safe, but that's just not really the case, right? They should be able to go to Yale. They should be able to go to Harvard. They should be able to go wherever it is that they want to go. But they also should know that HBCUs are a good and viable option for them, that they're not under any other school that they might choose to go to, despite what anyone has to say. But I think that comes at the hands of alumni going back and saying, hey, this was my experience and this is why you should come. Right. And not only saying those things, but also contributing financially to the universities as well.
Exactly. That is so important. I'm going to tell you guys that one of the things that I learned from going to an HBCU is I learned more about myself. So I've been to both. I've been to a PWI and I've also been to a HBCU. Sure. And I have to tell you that I felt lost at a PWI. I felt like that it wasn't, I just didn't feel like I was in sync or aligned with the messages there. And then when I went to PVAMU for the first time, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This feels like me. And I got to know more about myself as a person and as an African American, because let's be real. I mean, I went to a high school that in A-Leaf, it was predominantly white. So for me to go to a school and see people learning like me, it was different, to be on the yard. Like if you on the yard at an HBCU, I need you to understand
homecoming is a whole different animal at an HBCU.
It's
the football
very
game
different.
Experience.
It is
at the white schools, they go to see the game. At the black schools, we going to see the band.
Yes, that's what it's about. It's about
band, the tailgate, everything outside of the football game is what we're attracted to. But I mean, that's really honestly true. I remember the first day I stepped foot on Hampton University's campus. I was a senior in high school. I walked, and everywhere I looked, there were beautiful black people.
Yes.
And I told my mom, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it was just a feeling. It's a different feeling. I've been to plenty of PWIs. I had the opportunity to travel and visit different schools. But I knew in that moment that was the place that I was supposed to be. I felt at home. And I learned so much about myself. I learned about networking and building relationships with different people. And I also learned at Hampton that black people are really not a monolith. There are people from so many different cultures that are black. You have people that are from the islands. You have people that are from the East Coast, the West Coast. And when you get that cultural mesh, it makes the environment that much more exciting and better.
And they all look like you.
Yes.
Look, that is it right there. So that is the most important thing I think that kids should understand when making some decisions about going away to college. You have to ask yourself, where will you be comfortable? But then the other thing is that going places where people look like you, they have some similar backgrounds, you have some commonalities,
right? You've
had some similar struggles, right?
And you can get a stellar education.
Yes. And that's the most important part.
And we gonna wrap it up on that. I can't get any better than that. You get a stellar education. So I thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break, and we are going to get a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back.
If you're in Houston and interested in becoming a content creator, attending our 3rd annual boot camp on August 4th, 2018, is an excellent way to learn the benefits and ins and outs of consistent, engaging content creation. For more information on everything I've just mentioned, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
My wife Annette and I have been married 2 years and now expecting our first child. The doctor says it's a boy and I'm so excited. Now this addition to our family has us thinking about the future and how our son will be taken care of if something ever happened to us. I suggested to my wife we contact our insurance agent. The people at the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency helped us pick out a great life insurance plan that will ensure that our loved ones will be taken care of in case of an untimely death. Now that that's taken care of, we can now focus on finishing this baby room. Contact the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency at 281-200-0137.
Are you a Black blogger, podcaster, or vlogger located in Houston? Do you need help amplifying your voice? Do you want to be an active partner with an association that was designed with you in mind? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, now is an excellent time to join the Houston African American Bloggers Association to enjoy the benefits of working with a thriving and expanding collective.
Grandma and Grandpa just bought a brand new Corvette, lipstick red and black leather seats. I want to be just like them when I retire, footloose and fancy free. One of the things they taught me was to have a great insurance and retirement plan. That's why I signed up with the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. Farmers, our family has trusted them with all our insurance and retirement needs, so we have no worries on the road of life or on the highway to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. The Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, a farmer's company. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137.
Thank you guys for coming back and sharing with us. We are about to roll into our next segment. We are talking about it's complicated.
Right.
Yeah, I had to remember that.
Because I know what you want to.
Yeah.
You just want to let it out.
And I am joined today by Tomei and Janae. She's back with us, and we have an interesting topic today. So we're going to talk about. Look, the last show that we did, we talked about Black China, and I had some interesting things to say. This time, she back in the news with the sex tape, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say we're not going to talk about the tape, but what we are going to talk about is we're going to talk about what does that look like as it relates to consent, right? Okay. So I'm just going to jump off and give you guys a little bit of the background. So I said to myself, she understood and she consented to the tape. But what she's saying was she didn't consent to it being released. Okay. So that's what that's what her big deal is. So she says she's going to go to the police and she's going to report it because she's upset because it was released. Exactly. Now, here's the thing. The person that she's in the tape with said he didn't even have a copy of it. So it couldn't possibly have been him. The only person that had it was her because it was on her phone. Okay. So all I'm saying is, let's figure out, do you think she leaked the tape herself?
Yeah, because, ain't nobody really chatting about her.
Okay.
Now. So you got to do what you got to do to kind of
stay relevant?
Yeah, and stay in them tabloids. So.
Okay.
I could see it being her, but on the flip side, how many people handle her phone a day?
That's a good one.
And how many people are salty? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people hating on Cardi B because of her story or her come up or whatever. And if you her friend and y'all was, in this thing together coming up and all of a sudden she the one with everything that you wish you had, like how many people can you say would likely be like, you know what, let me put some salt on what she got going on and put her out there like that.
Okay, so wait a minute. So the plot thickens. Okay, so you guys are saying that the Black China sex tape might have been released.
Can we call it a video? Because it's not, we don't really do tape. When I think of tape, I think of VHS.
I'm old.
Video.
We gonna go with tape.
The video.
We gonna go with tape. Anyway, y'all, I'm old. She young. So we gonna let her make it. Okay, so whatever, her sexcapade.
Right.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah,
I
her
like
sex
that.
shenanigans.
So does this have something to do with Cardi B?
Well, the street says that Cardi B best friend released it, but I couldn't get the connection to why her best friend would do that. I guess I gotta figure out like who y'all rolling with on the back end.
Exactly.
Because
That's shady.
Yeah, I was just
That's shady.
Well, how y'all linking up? Like, what parties are y'all at?
Like, how long have y'all known each other?
How long have y'all
Because I
known
got
each
some
other?
friends. Well, the people who I call my friends, and you can't say nothing about me to them because they're gonna be like, "Nah, she wasn't even there." They could have me on camera.
Yep.
That
There,
wasn't
they
her.
be like,
Ride or
But
die. Like, that wasn't her.
That wasn't me.
So
Them ain't her teeth.
how long?
Yeah.
How
Sorry.
long have these people been your friend for them to do some stuff like that? Like, who are you rolling with?
The industry is
So,
dirty.
This is what I want to. So this is my main question I want to ask you guys. So for me, this is my opinion. I think that if you make a decision to make a video and it's a sex video, right? You open yourself up to whatever those possibilities are. That means that if it gets leaked, people might see it.
Yeah.
It means that it could be in the hands of the public. It could be unflattering. But if you made the decision to do that, then now that's there for prosperity. Here's what concerns me, right? I wouldn't do that personally, but it's because I understand the cloud can get hacked. Somebody could
There's
send
a movie
it.
about
I want
that.
you to
Right?
understand.
That movie was funny.
And I want everybody to understand that I would be so embarrassed if my mother saw that or if my son
But
saw
her
that.
mama
or
is trashy. It was like shading her like, okay, well, I don't know if I can say
No,
this, but
that's
she made a video of like how to do it right
oh my.
on the Instagram with,
Okay.
it's like her mama just be
So her
just,
mom is participating in
well,
it.
her mom just really be clouting her, like just, I don't think she really fool with her mama like that at all. And her mama shows her gums. I'm gonna just say gums. We ain't gonna say nothing else. But she just just always, just every time Black China's name is out there, then she comes and does something, or she calls Kris Jenner on the phone and leave a voicemail and does just all this random stuff. And it's like the longer we give these people these platforms, the longer they're gonna keep putting themselves.
So
out
both
there.
of them trying to stay relevant.
Of
basically,
course,
is
like
what's happening.
they got what Black China stay getting a new car, like a Rolls, like $300,000, $500,000 cars, and she just lazy.
I don't know how, because her sex game is
Listen,
kind of
like,
weak. But
I was-
okay, this is not
I
me. I'm
was
just
just
saying
like-
she lazy. She lazy.
Like, Rob, you really dodged the bullet with that one, Rob. We was really laughing at you last year,
Yes.
but now you get the laugh.
Now, yes,
Because that's what
she's
you was
definitely
dealing
gonna
with.
get a
We was
donkey of a
feeling,
year.
yeah, she
Yeah.
deserves it.
All right, so let's talk really quickly about that. Tell me what you guys think. So, what is your opinion of recording yourself? How do you feel about that? And then, how do you feel about if you record it? Like, what do you think happens after it's recorded? Like, how do you feel about that whole situation?
Well, you know, when you in love.
Okay.
You know,
This mean you got tape out there somewhere?
No, I don't look
Okay.
like.
Check.
See, I'm asking for a friend or chilling for a friend. Cause look, that ain't for me.
Hashtag
Just
for a
say,
friend.
When,
Got you.
when you in love, you kind of do some silly stuff.
Okay.
You know, or y'all get in the zone or whatever. You do your thing or whatever. But just hit delete. Watch it if you gotta watch it. Hit delete and then erase it. Clear the fault. You know how they got that temporary
It's
folder.
the internet. Is it
Clear
ever
that.
really gone?
Well, on your phone, and then the way my phone's set up, whatever I take a picture on one phone, it's on my laptop, it's on my iPad, it's on my other phone. It's two in sync. So I wouldn't do that, like personally, no. But if that's what you're doing, like you gotta people. That's why it's illegal in LA because people do revenge porn.
Right.
And once I'm mad at you and I'm not with you no more, boom, I'm gonna try to embarrass you. But can you really be embarrassed when you show your booty anyway on the internet?
And this is my whole point.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that it doesn't feel valid or authentic when I hear Black China say something about
and then
the
she
fact
put her suit on and in her
you know,
court wig.
exactly.
I'm like,
come on,
girl.
stop it. We already know what you do for a living. This is what you do.
But wait a minute, because then that gets into the point of that's just like saying, oh, well, a porn star can't get raped. Like, I feel like, yeah, if this is what she's choosing to do to get paid, it's a difference between me doing something tastefully or whatever to get paid and then me thinking this is an intimate moment in the comfort of my own space and that this is, something personal that we're sharing. So I don't think that's fair to say that, oh, because she does this or that she shouldn't feel some type of way about somebody against her wishes releasing an intimate or private moment that happened in her life.
I mean, she can feel whatever way she wants to feel about it, but we not going to take people are not going to take her seriously, and they're really not, because that's kind of like you crying wolf. Like at the end of the day, for me, I feel like if you are leading your life in such a way where you are manipulating situations and you are manipulating people, you can be upset when it happens to you, but like on some real stuff, nobody cares.
But Rob did the same thing. So this is actually the second time it's happened. When Rob released those pictures of her, and he was like, yeah, I got surgery for you. He, completely embarrassed her. So you ain't learn your lesson the first time, with doing that kind of stuff in a phone or wherever it is, iPad, whatever you're doing it on. That's why she was so quick. They be like, she don't play when it come down to that kind of stuff.
Really?
So I kind of get it, but
I needed
this
to
is not
stop
your
doing
first
it
rodeo.
then. Exactly.
That's
So
what
my
I'm
thing
saying.
is that you should, my opinion, learn from your behavior.
Yeah.
Learn from your behavior. So when we talked about, she's like, let's dig into that a little bit deeper, right?
Okay.
So the next topic is about sugar daddies and sugar mamas, right? So we're talking about, let's be real, that's what Rob was, right? He might not have been, I don't even know if he's older than her, right? Because I don't know what their ages are. But we know that sugar daddies are, an older man with a younger woman, right? Shelling out some cash, breaking some bread. And then the next thing is going to be sugar mamas. And that is happening, right? Older women out here getting a little young.
They ain't even old. Because look at Jill Scott and the other girl.
They
got bamboozled. They got these men, and then the men just was like, I'm finna take your money, and then they get divorced.
Oh,
so
they
are
the
here.
ultimate
they
sugar mama.
Getting
I need them to understand that just because you got sugar at the front of the name don't mean you got to marry it. That's all I'm saying.
Look now.
But yeah, I said that.
Dip in the bowl. You don't marry the bowl. Okay.
Thank you. That's the whole point. So what do you guys think about that?
Right.
It might just be, something to get you through.
So do you guys? So I've been looking at some things, and it says they have a whole website, and it's for sugar. Yep. Exactly.
There's a lot of them on YouTube that are sugar babies.
Do you believe them when they say they're not having sex? Because they say, well, we not having sex with them. They just give us money.
You make a contract. And you
know this for a friend.
Watching YouTube.
Okay.
I learned from YouTube.
Just want to make sure we'll clarify that for y'all.
I got you. Now, y'all ain't gonna find no attached to you Google me. You're not gonna find it. But they, you state like what they want in the beginning.
Okay.
So like how many days, what you do on the day. If I call you, you got to answer. It's like having a job.
So I think that it's possible that they are not having sex. And I mean, I'm not gonna say from experience, but I know some people.
Do I need to Google you?
No.
Okay.
No, but if they ain't trying to get nothing, it's like we talk offline.
Okay.
I know some people who, they're in situations where they sincerely just want the conversation, the company, the companionship, but they feel like the sex part is a sacred thing, but they don't necessarily want to have the commitment that comes with the constant conversation stuff. Like they want somebody that's more than a friend who's, willing to cuddle, this and that, but they also ain't trying to be in a relationship because they want to be able to change it up if they get tired of you. But, they're not trying to have sex either.
Smart old men.
Well, this isn't just men because remember, that's what we were talking about, sugar mamas too. So
it's a type of women too?
Well, yes, it's actually, I have to go look at it because I put it on my social media, but they do have a site that is for women as well. And it's sugar mamas.
Look at Charlotte. It's being a sugar baby, a legit side hustle. I'm trying to see something.
Look, anything could be a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm noticing now is that there's more women that are stepping up and like, okay, so cougar is a big term now, right? And so before you would always see older men, younger women, and from a societal perspective, it was acceptable. Like it was something that you knew that it happened. Maybe people didn't shun it or think it was a bad thing, right? But it was just something we knew happened. So now you have women who are career women, they're executives, and they call them boy toys, right? So like I'm paying for you to
exactly get my beck and call.
There you go, exactly.
Leave when I'm ready for you to leave,
right?
And people seem to have a problem with that. So I have a problem with the double standard. Like I don't like the double standard.
Men do it.
That's all I'm saying.
And I think with men though, like Hugh Hefner made it popular to be, be old with all the young women and they pretty much there for your money. But there's no, I mean, I can't recall a woman equivalent to that type of situation. And women, on the other hand, on top of that, there's a double standard. They're supposed to be, be such a lady, and you shouldn't be out here wielding your power. You should be meek and this and that. And a lot of these women nowadays, they don't have time for that. They trying to get their money. Yep. They trying to, go to their house. They trying to be unbothered. They don't want no extra stress. And if you add into my stress, you can move around.
Cardi B said, "You can get some money." That's what she said.
Oh yes, she did. Oh, and you know what? That's very interesting. That's gonna lead us into our next topic. We are gonna take a break here. That was interesting conversation, ladies. I really, really enjoyed it. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna go to a commercial and be back with you guys in a second.
Thank you for watching Houston's most diverse opinion-based show. You think it, we say it. Brought to you by the Houston African American Bloggers Association. On the show, we share information, opinions, and perspectives focusing on Houston and flowing outward to encompass living well globally. To find out more, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
Hurricane Harvey hit us hard. Me and my wife lost both cars, and our house has water damage. We worried about our future, but then we contacted our trusted Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, Farmers. Let them make sure you're covered properly in the event of a loss. Contact them today for a free, no-obligation review of your current policy. After contacting Paul Wilson, we knew things were going to work out just fine. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137, a Farmers Company.
If you're in Houston and interested in becoming a content creator, attending our 3rd annual boot camp on August 4th, 2018 is an excellent way to learn the benefits and ins and outs of consistent, engaging content creation. For more information on everything I've just mentioned, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
My wife Annette and I have been married 2 years and now expecting our first child. The doctor says it's a boy and I'm so excited. Now this addition to our family has us thinking about the future and how our son will be taken care of if something ever happened to us. I suggested to my wife we contact our insurance agent. The people at the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency helped us pick out a great life insurance plan that will ensure that our loved ones will be taken care of in case of an untimely death. Now that that's taken care of, we can now focus on finishing this baby room. Contact the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency at 281-200-0137.
Welcome back. And we are going to move into our last segment. We are going to talk about Get Your Coins. And I'm excited about this segment. So this is Get Your Coins is always one of my favorite ones because we get to talk about people getting money, and specifically I like to talk about black women getting their money because I'm like Issa Rae. I want everybody black to win. Yes. But specifically I want black women to win. So what we're talking about is you guys know that like recently in the media there had been a Cardi B pregnancy watch, right? So everything was a buzz. Does she have a baby bump? Is she pregnant? And then everybody was speculating on if she was pregnant, why she wasn't sharing that information. Now we did find out ultimately that she was not pregnant because like who's the dude she dating? Which one she dating? Offset?
I don't know. Yeah, Offset.
She's dating Offset.
But don't ask me which one is Offset.
Because they all look alike.
They do.
They all look alike.
Yeah.
Well, no, the one Quavo's cute. I'm just saying.
I don't know
Quavo's
which
cute.
one. I don't know who
I
Quavo
said
is.
it. Quavo's cute.
I just learned last year that they was 3 different people.
Oh,
and I had
yes.
to listen to Migos for a little minute, and then they got Mo Cloud or whatever, and I'm like, oh, it's 3 of them.
Yes, it's 3. And one of them is what was the potential baby daddy for Cardi B.
Right.
So we found out she's not actually pregnant, right? Because he said that. He was like, nope, she's not having a baby. But why did that matter? So there was a lot of conversation that was going on about if she was pregnant, why she wouldn't be sharing that with the public, right? So a lot of people were talking about the different engagements and like the different gigs or jobs that she had that were like some real money makers, some super projects, right? Exactly. So the consideration was if she's pregnant, would that be a liability? Like, would she be able to still perform at her peak? Would she still be able to attend?
Couldn't do it.
Exactly. So, for instance, because that was last year, Beyonce didn't go. She didn't do her Coachella performance because of being pregnant. But then she turned around and came on the Grammys and was in that chair, leaned it all the way back, right?
That was her last performance.
And that was her last performance,
so
right?
Yeah.
So that made me think. I would have been scared too, right? I was scared for her because that's twins. You know what I mean? So what that made me think about was, what other things do we hide, like, in from a societal perspective, what other things do we hide so that we can stay marketable at work? So I was thinking about things like some people hide their sexuality, some people hide their religion, spirituality. Some people hide their marital status, especially if you're an artist, right? How often do they say they don't want people to know that a good-looking artist is married? Or the other thing is that some people actually even have to hide their side hustle, right? Whatever it is that you're doing for a hobby, because your employer might think it is a conflict, right? So I kind of thought that we could just kind of jump into that topic and just talk about it. So I'm gonna start with asking you, Janae, have you ever had a situation where you felt like you had to hide something about yourself personally for a job?
I'm gonna go with no, but mainly because, I can't hide that I have a kid. That's not something I lead with, but it is what it is. But anything else about me that I'm passionate about, like, I'm not gonna hide. And if my job don't like it, sucks for me, maybe. I mean, but the thing is, because all jobs say, oh, we're equal opportunity employer, we don't discriminate, but I don't think that that's really the case, obviously. Like, and that's why people don't tell them things. I mean, I haven't been in a situation where I had anything to hide, but I know people who have. I know people who, were pregnant and were needing to get another job and then didn't tell them that they were pregnant. They weren't showing or whatever. But one, because when you get a new job, they automatically have to, you're automatically eligible for the insurance because you're a new hire.
Right.
Versus if you, were at a job, then you got pregnant and didn't have the insurance, you can't get on it because it's a pre-existing condition.
Okay.
I know people who don't talk about going to church or things because their job is a diverse environment, and so they don't want anybody to be offended. So that hasn't been my experience, but I've seen it a lot too, that a lot of people do hide things that are their passion or a part of them, because even though it says we don't discriminate, That's not really true.
Okay. Have you ever had a situation where you felt like you needed to hide something about your person for a job or to be marketable?
Well, it kind of just slid out 2 times. Like, I know they say don't talk about politics at work. So this was when President Barack Obama, who is still my president, was running against Hillary. And he was like, I don't know what made him ask me who I voted for, and I was like, Barack, like, what you mean? And he was like, you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton? I was like, nah, y'all call me black woman. Y'all don't call me woman black. So I'm going to vote for my race first. And I was always the youngest person.
I like that. She made that make sense,
yeah, and I've always been the youngest person. So at that time, that was my first real job. I was still in college and everything. I had interned there when I was like 17. And I don't know, I was probably like 18 or 19 around that time. And then that same job, I started selling Mary Kay.
Okay.
And I was like, had my little flyers in the kitchen. They was like, oh, you need to put that up, kind of thing. So that was kind of like shading on my
your side hustle.
And I think I'm always discriminated on because I'm the youngest. I always get fired first.
Aww.
Always. So I'm be like, I'm gonna not tell them next time. Tell them I'm 40.
So
yeah, I have a condition where
that might not even help you nowadays. I'm just gonna tell you, it may not help you, and I know I'm there. What I have noticed, well, for me, I know that I had a job where I once lied about being married. I actually wore a wedding band. I went and bought one, and it was very specific because the owner of the company didn't like the idea of me being a unwed mother. And it was uncomfortable, and I was young at the time.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what, this will be easy. He doesn't have to ask me any questions. Yes, I'm married, and that's it. We don't have to talk about it.
Right.
And so, but I was going to share with you guys, have you ever heard of the story of, it was a young woman who was a police officer. I believe she was in Florida, and she made a decision to do Playboy magazine, and she ended up getting fired from her job. And they said that was because it was a moral code violation, but there was no, she didn't sign anything that said that it was a moral code violation, but they relieved her of her duties. Same thing with some teachers. Have you guys ever seen where they have like teachers that have done certain things and it's been during their personal time, right? But they ended up losing their job because people saw it, because it was on social media or whatever. And for me, I do believe there's some stuff about teachers, like if I don't want to know certain things about my teacher or about my son's teacher, right? I don't want to know it. And I think there's certain things you have to do a better job of keeping it away from the public when you have specific positions. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, teachers are people. Like, they smoke weed, they do regular people stuff, even though they have a, that doesn't take away from their ability to teach a kid,
right?
Or they might be low key sex addicts. Like, if we don't find out, then we would never know. But that wasn't.
So shouldn't they take? So then that's perfect that you said that, right? So here's the question: if you do things that would lead to people to pass judgment, right? And they may judge your character as a result of it, right? Do you think that those people have a responsibility to keep that hidden, to keep it away from people?
I think it depends on what it's, because like with teachers, police officers, therein was considered a position of moral turpitude, meaning that they're, I think it means, let me say that because I don't remember the definition, but that they are supposed to uphold behaviors that are acceptable to the moral standard of society or whatever, which means that I don't want my police officer snorting cocaine, or abusing,
or my pilot,
abusing pills,
or my pilot. Yes, please.
Exactly, or my pilot. I don't want my teacher, out here doing S&M videos and posting them on YouTube.
Right. And
my child is seeing that because you're in a position where people are supposed to respect you and respect your authority. And if you don't have yourself, if you put yourself in situations where it would be deemed as unrespectable, I mean, that's a risk you're taking. Everybody does what they do on the side or behind closed doors, and I'm a firm believer that that's their business. But at the same time, that's a risk you're taking. If you get caught, you just say you
like you knew what you signed up for when you got the job.
Exactly.
I think that this is where I struggle. I struggle with, if you are doing it on the time of the job, right? So if I have a 9 to 5 and if I am doing that type of behavior, or let's say I'm traveling for my company, right? And I'm on the clock, right? Because while you're traveling for the company, even the whole time that you're on the trip, it is considered, especially if they're paying for the trip, the entire time that you're on the trip, you are representing the brand of the company, right? But when it's my personal time, I kind of feel like if it's my personal time, I should be able to do whatever it is that I want to do, however I want to do it. But I also am very careful. Like, I'm the type of person on some real, like, come at me with a camera and see what happened. Like, cause I believe some people just be out of line with that whole camera video. Look, don't get hurt, right? But that's because this is my life, and if I want to share it, I will turn the camera on myself. I don't need you to do that for me. And I think that that's where I have concern and pause, because I have friends that are teachers. I have friends that are politicians. I have friends that they may not be doing anything, but it's the point of how it would be perceived if people saw it. Like, have you ever seen somebody with people that are doing something that might be questionable, and now they get caught up in it just because somebody took a picture and it looks inappropriate, but it really isn't. And so that's one of my, like, that's a pet peeve for me. I really like, when you come through with the camera and want to take pictures and stuff, and everybody stop it.
That'd be me. I'm like, come on, guys, let's take a picture.
So
you ain't supposed to be.
So this way, okay. So let's take it. Let's go to the next part. Let's talk a little bit about this. Do you think that women are discriminated against?
Absolutely.
See, she was like, I didn't even get it out. But do you think that women are discriminated against as it relates to, like, when we, like, if we are going for a job and we want to be executives? Do you think that the chances of us not getting a job could be contingent upon the fact that we might want to start a family? Because I know that has happened to me in the past. How do you feel about that?
100%. Again, this isn't something I've experienced, but I know women who it's like a glass ceiling, because who's the one that has to carry the baby? Who's the one that has to take off of work when the baby is born? Not the man. Well, some situations
they have paternity leave now, where they can take 6 weeks as well.
Right, but they can. They don't have to. But the woman has to be able to heal. Heaven forbid she has to have a C-section or complications, and now she has to be on bed rest before she even has the baby.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And so I feel like women do get the short end because they are the ones carrying the child and this and that. But the man, they could make a child and never see the woman again. They go to work tomorrow like it ain't nothing and be like, new phone, who this?
Right. I mean, wasn't nobody telling Jay-Z that he couldn't have a concert because his wife was pregnant. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't even a concern for him. It was, however, a concern for her. And I think it also bothers me because it impacts our money. Right? So anything, so for me, I feel like I'm doing one of the greatest things that a woman can do, and that's, taking care of a life and giving birth.
They should pay you for that.
Exactly. I'm thinking I should be getting a check for that.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't even much be taking some of my check on disability. I should get the whole 100%, not no 60. I'm not supposed to live off that.
That's it. You sound.
There's
a backstory. It sounds like she got a backstory on that. So they sounded better.
Yeah. Then y'all charged me $40,000 to have a baby, and I had insurance. Okay, look. Still call my phone. New phone. Who this?
I want everybody to understand that if it's $40,000 to have a baby, y'all just gonna have to go ahead and put that on my credit.
And that's before you had a baby, and then put the baby in the baby baby unit.
Well, they covered some of it, but they still came at me for a couple thousand. They covered 40.
So though, because that brings me to a really good question. Then, so if you have a child and then that's the cover the cost, like, does that can they go after you and your spouse?
No, girl, because I was married.
Okay,
was
so
I
they
married?
only come
I
out,
was married.
They only come after you
it was
for
on
the
my
change?
credit.
Because guess what? Well, I wasn't married when I had my child, but when you had a baby, man, I'm sorry. You the one that's got
we with you. We there with you.
You the one that gotta consent to the stuff. They ask you what the baby name is. They ask you, do you want the daddy on the birth certificate? It used to be back in the Gap. If y'all wasn't married, you couldn't even put the man's name on the birth certificate. That's what my mom told me. This was
right. Well, that is true. That's a long time ago.
That's why I can't find my name.
But
okay. Oh, okay.
That was back when they were still putting Negro. on our birth certificate.
Yeah.
Just being real.
Yeah.
Just being real.
But, you know, because the man, just like the man don't have to consent if you want to have an abortion, the man doesn't get to say if you want to have a, you know, epidural, or if you don't want to do this or that.
They make him leave the room too
if
when they
you want
sticking
him
it
to.
in your back.
Yeah,
Right.
if you want him to. So it's because it's your body, even though y'all are married and y'all are supposed to be one, it's your body, so it's your decision, so it's your credit. At the end of the day.
Wow, that's a word there. Is that the end of the
look,
show?
I was gonna say, look, let me tell you. What we have determined is that you got to get out there and get your coins, right? Because if you got to pay for the babies, whatever
with
it
a
is, you
couple
gotta pay
S's
for,
on there,
you
because
gotta make sure that you are getting your coins. So it was an absolutely great segment, and I am glad that you guys tuned in with us once again at the You Think It, We Say It show, and we will talk to you again soon. Follow us next week, and we will be back.